Hi guys, and welcome back to Armored Warfare. And I've not been able to put a video up for the last couple of days. As I said in my last video, it's quite difficult while my kids are on the school holidays because I've got nowhere quiet to go in the house, and I normally record and edit and everything while they're all at school. But anyway, Armored Warfare on PS4 has had a full release now yesterday, Tuesday the 20th of February, and it's free to download now from the PlayStation Store. So I've been playing this for a couple of weeks on the Founders Pack sort of early release, and with its sort of general release, I thought to do a short video giving a basic rundown of the different tank classes in Armored Warfare, because there are some that you'll be familiar with, some sort of a slight, you know, like I say, very familiar feel to them, but they're called, you know, something slightly different, etc. And I know that there's probably a lot of people that have played World of Tanks and are sort of moving on to this, and so, you know, we'll be sort of using World of Tanks sort of things as a bit of a comparison, you know, as well as giving other descriptions. Now, the tank that I'm currently in is the class that we're starting with, which is the AFVs, Armoured Fighting Vehicles, and these are a sort of an open circle, their symbol, just a circle. And personally, I'm not a fan of these as such. I don't mind them. The very low tier stuff ones I don't mind, although I don't know, I just don't do very well in them, so I'm just not a fan of them myself. But anyway, your AFVs are essentially what would be your light tanks from sort of World of Tanks, or scouts, and well, these scouts in this. Now, this is a basic rundown. I'm still learning, you know, everything about the game, but I've got a basic handle on various things. So yeah, just thought I'd give a basic rundown. So AFVs, they are your scouts, and are usually armed with something like a 20, 30 mil, some sort of auto cannon, 20 mil, 30 mil, something like that. Not always. There are others. There are some that have got sort of 73 mil guns. You know, a couple with sort of 4 shots before reload, some that are single shots, and they usually have some sort of missiles. This one has, I think it has some weird little heat missiles or something. Anyway, but yeah, anyway, this is an XM 800. Lore, I think it is. I can't quite see on the preview one, but yeah. So your armoured fighting vehicles, they're your scouts in this game. They are fast, they are poorly armoured, very lightly armoured vehicles, tracked or wheeled. There are both in the game. There are tracked ones and wheeled ones, and like I say, usually armed with some sort of small auto cannon. Not normally, as you sort of progress up the tiers, the bottom tier ones can deal with you know, main battle tanks and things like that from the sides, the rear. I forgot to turn my phone off. But generally, their guns themselves aren't enough to deal with stuff like that, but they are enough to deal with sort of light tanks. And again, as you go up the tiers, some of the light tanks have pretty good protection at the front with composites, but from the sides, you know, some of the TDs, they're quite weakly armoured in this. Again, from the sides, rear, and generalisation, the front, some of them have very good angling, but we'll move on to that. But yeah, the guns are generally for sort of dealing with other AFVs, or sort of light, you know, anything that is lightly armoured, sides and rear, etc. But they do normally have some sort of anti-tank guided missile on them as well, for dealing with the bigger stuff. And again, sometimes not frontally, but from the sides. But these are generally, these are your scouts, so you want to be spotting and sort of keeping things lit up, that sort of thing, and sort of counter scouting, you know, taking out the enemy AFVs and that sort of thing. From what I understand it anyway, and you know, I've taken this, I've done a bit of research from it, from Armored Warfare's website and what have you. So like I say, just a basic rundown of these classes. So that's AFVs. Yeah, AFV, Armoured Fighting Vehicles. So moving along, we have light tanks. Now, these are generally, again, quick. They are quick, generally lightly armoured, but again, as you move up the tiers, they do sort of get composites, and, you know, various, some of them have ERA packs, the explosive reactive armour, composite armour, and good angling, etc. So, again, moving up the tiers, they sort of do seem to gain a bit of protection from the front. Not so much at close range, but definitely at a distance, and definitely against, you know, the armoured fighting vehicles. And you know, sometimes, like I say, some of the bigger guns and the bigger tanks sort of from a distance, but armoured fighting vehicles from the front gives you a bit more protection against them, because in the lower tiers, the armoured fighting vehicles, their auto cannons can take out your light tanks from more or less anywhere around it as well. And it's only as you sort of progress up the tiers you get a bit more protection frontally from AFV's auto guns. But again, you've got various sort of different types of these, the light tanks. They're all tracked. But this is what Armored Warfare, again according to the sort of website, this is what they call the damage dealers. And essentially, I guess in World of Tanks terms, they would kind of behave like your medium tanks, you know, the fast, the mobile. You know, some of their armour can be alright, some of it's a bit pants, you know, a bit like it is in that. And they do have decent guns. Comparable to some of the guns on some of the main battle tanks as well at certain tiers for sort of pen and damage. Sometimes maybe not your alpha damage, but more sustained damage. There is one, the Stingray. In fact, you're seeing a bit of it now. The Stingray 2, this one is, and that's got a 4-shot auto loader, so you get 4 shots and then you get a reload, and that's a very potent damage dealer. So, you know, these are great for getting around the flanks while your main battle tanks, which are, you know, again we'll talk about in a moment, you know, while they're sort of keeping people distracted, you can get around the flanks, or, you know, try and get at something from a distance, or depending on what it is and which one you've got, you can just, you know, pop out, clip somebody and bugger off again. And the Stingray, I mean, the Stingray's a tier 6, and I think it can clip a tier 5 main battle tank or some of them, so that gives you an idea of sort of the potency of it. But yeah, these are sort of your faster, more nimble, a bit, like I say, lightly armoured, but still very potent damage dealers, and good fun. And again, we'll sort of move on, and we'll move on to the TDs. So, TDs. Tank destroyers. Again, for those of you that are familiar with sort of World of Tanks, same sort of role as in World of Tanks, and I've left this one on from the start just so you can see it sort of pick up speed and take off. This is a Dragoon 90, a tier, I think it's tier 3, if I remember rightly. Yeah, it is tier 3 TD, and this is a wheeled one, and essentially it's sort of like an armoured fighting vehicle hull in a way, with a turret on top with a 90mm gun. Good rate of fire, decent alpha, that sort of thing. And again, the TDs in this generally seem to be quick, a bit more lightly armoured, but again, moving up the tiers, you do get a bit more armour protection, and are armed with a decent gun. Again, don't forget, this is a basic rundown of these. I will go into more details and what have you, as I'm sort of more familiar with the game myself. So, I don't know about I've not seen any yet, but then again, you know, I've not really been through any TDs particularly. This is the only really one I've got. I've not seen any with a massive alpha damage, but they do seem to have a very good rate of fire, and decent pen and what have you. And again, there are tracked ones as well as wheeled ones. Some, like this line, which are armed with cannons, and then there's another line which they're almost like armoured fighting vehicles, but they've got sort of a bit more potent anti-tank sort of guided missiles on them. And so yeah, some of them are tracked, some are wheeled, some are armed with guns, some are armed with auto cannons for dealing with AFVs and light tanks that come after them, and a great deal of guided missiles. So they do vary a little bit, the TDs, but generally they sort of fulfill a very similar role to what they would in World of Tanks. You know, you generally try and stay hidden, using camouflage, using the foliage, using other people to spot for you, and you punish people from a distance. But these, interestingly enough, these wheeled ones are actually, some of them can be pretty good in the lower tier. It's circling enemy tanks and doing drive-bys as well. You know, where there's I can't think of my words now, I'm completely gone. An injured tank on low health, that sort of thing, which I've done a couple of times myself, and you see it down somewhere or what have you, and you just go hurtling down, and you sort of pre-aim to the side when you're going to go past, and just basically boom as you drive past. And they're quite good fun for that. So yeah, you can circle a bit in these and do drive-bys and that sort of thing, but they are generally, again, these are generalizations, sort of, they do seem to be quite mobile, but again, poorly armoured, but good at dealing damage. And again, sort of fulfill your general sort of tank destroy role in most sort of tank combat simulators. This is a class that I'm not going to go into much more because it's not really changed. It's a class that doesn't really change from game to game, if you get my meaning. So anyway, let's move on to main battle tanks. Right, so main battle tanks. Now, these are, I suppose these would be heavies if you're in World of Tanks. I'm in an M60A3 here in this clip, and I've got some M1 Abrams. I've got the M1 Abrams. Nearly out of it to the M1A1 actually. But yeah, so I'm rocking a little bit there. But yeah, so your main battle tank, essentially your heavies. Now, again, low tiers, just standard steel armour. Doesn't really matter what you shoot at them. As they progress up the tiers, they get ERA packs like some of the other tanks do, which are the explosive reactive armour, which essentially negate heat. Again, as you progress through those, around, usually, I think it's around tier 5-ish. Might be the odd tier 4 possibly, but no, around tier 5 you start seeing the fronts of the hulls, and some of the turrets are made of composites, which again are very effective against heat frontally. So you know, if you're going to use heat, you're going to get it on the side or the rear. And these are, and again, these are generalisations. Some are quicker than others, again, like it is in other tank games, in World of Tanks, etc. Some are faster than others. So, but these are generally your slower, more heavily armoured, and they generally have a good amount of health as well compared to some of the other tiers, some of the other classes, should I say. So yeah, more heavily armoured, a bit slower, and generally a bit more health, and normally have a very large, a large caliber gun, good pen and decent damage with them as well. But the rate of fire is normally a bit less than it would be on the light tanks in this, that sort of thing. So again, the classes do kind of translate very sort of similarly. So if you're a fan of mediums, go for light. If you're a fan of mediums in World of Tanks, go for lights in this. If you're a fan of heavies, then BTs. If you're a fan of lights, either lights or AFVs in this. So, and obviously TDs. So it does kind of translate a bit. Now, there is another class in this which I'm not really going to go on about, and it's SPGs, artillery. They are only available for PvE matches, so that's player versus environment, so against AI, so you can only use SPGs in PvE. So in PvP, there is no RT raining down on you at all, so I'm not really going to cover those. RT is RT, works in the same way, and it's only available in that game mode anyway. So yeah, that's it really. There's not much more to say about MBTs. They are slow, or slower at the lower tiers, as you would expect. As you move up the tiers, they get quicker. When I went from the M60A3, which was quicker than the two previous ones, up to the M1 Abrams. The M1 Abrams was like a breath of fresh air. That's really nippy, especially when you get the upgrades on it. So there you go, a sort of basic and quick rundown of the different vehicle classes in Armored Warfare, for those of you that are sort of new to the game and wondering which classes you would like to sort of try out or whatever. And I know a couple of people from the other videos have said it seems a bit slower paced now that the full release is out. Instead of being sort of 6 on 6 or 8 on 8 for these PvP battles, I've had sort of 11 aside and 12 aside games, and it's a lot quicker paced. And also, if you want faster paced, go for your TDs, go for your light tanks as well, which the MBTs are a bit slower paced until you really get up the tiers. But yeah, hopefully, I've done my research on this and sort of had a look around, and hopefully I've sort of got this about right. But it is a basic rundown, so if I've cocked something up somewhere, which is probably likely, then yeah, do forgive me. And as I sort of become more familiar with this game as time goes on, I will probably start doing reviews of premiums, etc., that sort of thing, like I do for World of Tanks. But there you go. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll be back. Well, hopefully at some point, maybe tomorrow I might be able to get one done, but I'll be back hopefully with another video at some point this week, fingers crossed. And if not, I'll be starting afresh on Monday when my kids go back to school. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.